Most banks do not actually have an AI problem. Walk into the room, and everyone agrees it matters. Everyone nods, the budget is half promised. And then, nothing ships. The thing standing between a bank and its first real AI win is almost never the technology. It is something much quieter, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The blocker is tangibility. Interest is cheap, agreement is free, and a room full of people saying yes to AI feels like progress when it is not. The hard question is not whether AI matters, it is which use case ranked above which other use case, and why. The moment nobody can point at a specific thing, the enthusiasm has nowhere to go. Here is how it usually dies. The kickoff conversation ends with a promise of a workshop, then an analysis, then a report. Good work, done properly. But the decision impulse only forms weeks later, by which time the energy in that first room has leaked away. A correct answer that arrives after the momentum is gone is, for practical purposes, a wrong answer. So, the teams that move fast invert it. They produce a first rough orientation inside the very first conversation, not weeks after it. Not the final answer, just enough structure that the next step is easy to decide while everyone still cares. The goal of that first session is not to be complete. What does that structure look like? You start wide, a long list of every half idea the business throws out, easily dozens. Then you narrow in stages. The long list becomes a short list, the short list becomes 2 or 3 top picks, and only those few get specified properly. The workflow, the data, the architecture, the risks. Wide to narrow, on purpose. The discipline is in the narrowing. And this is where most people narrow on the wrong thing. They chase the idea that sounds most impressive in the meeting. But you are not hunting interesting AI ideas. You are hunting defensible ones, the use cases that survive contact with reality. An idea that demos well and dies in production is worse than no idea, because it burns the credibility you need for the next one. A defensible use case has 4 marks. 1. It sits on a standardized, repeatable process, because repeatable means you can measure it and automate it. 2. The decision is backed by real data the model can actually use. 3. It breaks into small modular steps, so you can ship a slice instead of betting the whole thing. And 4. It targets the dull, draining work people are genuinely glad to hand off, which is where adoption actually comes from. Now you score what survives, and you score it on 2 axes, not 1. Business value is the obvious one, how much this is worth if it works. But the axis teams skip is technical feasibility, how realistically you can build it with the data and the systems you actually have. Value alone makes you chase fantasies. Feasibility alone makes you build toys. You need both. Plot value against feasibility, and 4 boxes appear. High value and high feasibility is your top priority. Start there. Low value but easy is a quick win to build trust. High value but hard is a strategic bet you stage for later. And low value, hard to build, you simply park out loud so it stops eating the conversation. The map is what turns opinion into a decision. Then make the winner visible. A 1-screen mock, a clickable example of what the use case would feel like, does more in a meeting than 50 pages of analysis. It turns a vague yes into a real yes, or an honest no, both of which are progress. Remember the rule, in that first conversation, visibility beats completeness. An early concrete picture beats a perfect result nobody is awake for. One warning, because it is the trap inside the trap. The quality of everything you just built depends entirely on the quality of the input. Vague answers about the business produce vague, generic use cases that could belong to any bank on earth. Specific context, sharp questions, real examples of real work. That is what makes the output yours. Garbage in, generic out. So, if you take one thing from this, take this. The bank that wins with AI is not the one most excited about it. It is the one that can name its top 2 use cases and explain why they beat the rest on day 1. The shortlist is not the finish line, it is the starting gun. But you cannot fire a gun you never managed to pick up. If this made AI use case selection click for you, follow along, because I break down one banking and AI topic like this at a time. I also put together a 1-page scoring sheet for ranking your own AI use cases on value and feasibility, and it is free in the newsletter linked below.